Today, I'm speaking with a man who once moved in the same circles as members of Qatar's ruling elite, but who now lives in exile after speaking out. He is the founder of the Qatar National Democratic Party and has publicly accused the Qatari regime of funding extremist movements, shaping media narratives, and influencing institutions in the West. He was detained, interrogated, and eventually fled his country. Today, he is calling for a constitutional monarchy in Qatar and says the world still doesn't understand what is really happening behind the scenes. Khalid, Al-Hail, thank you for joining me.
It's my pleasure being here today. Thank you very much.
I want to start at the beginning. Before politics, before exile, who were you and how did this journey begin for you?
This journey began long time ago. I used to say a lot of things that the government of Qatar don't like within Doha. I had a lot of interviews with Qatar National TV and a lot of newspapers in Doha. I said once 6,200 companies going to be bankrupt in Qatar, and it was not liked statement by the former Prime Minister of Qatar and the former Emir, including the Crown Prince of Qatar at that time, Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, and actually the current Prime Minister of Qatar, Mohammed bin Abdurrahman, who used to be actually nobody in that time in Doha.
What first led you to speak out or to challenge the system in Qatar?
It's not about challenging the system, it's about saying actually the truth and fighting for your own people. If I had the chance to speak out, a lot of people in Qatar couldn't have that chance. I thought maybe because of my close circle with the regime of Qatar, I could have said a lot of things that people couldn't, but it was not welcome. They all want just people to speak out the same way they want, and they want people to repeat whatever they want. And I'm not like that. I'm a man, I'm a free man, and I defend my country, I defend my people. I am in full support of all the founders, families of Qatar, including the Al Thanis as well.
Can you take us back to when you were detained? What happened? Just lead us through that story.
So it's very simple. I was out of Doha in that time, and Tamim bin Hamad called me, the Emir of Qatar, on March 2014, and he asked me to come back to Doha. After a few months, I was outside Doha. He told me, okay, come back and everything would be fine. He gave me his own word, and I've trusted him as the head of state in that time. When I came back from the diplomatic area to the intelligence, high intelligence security prison in Qatar, and I was interrogated. They accused me of conspiracy to change the regime of Qatar. And I was saying it very clear that refusing doing things that might support Islamist or radical movements, that is not basically treason. It's the right thing to do. And they basically didn't like that. There is a lot of context. It was not the first time, but I just made it for you very simple for people to understand.
Did you ever believe that you might not survive this whole ordeal?
A lot of people couldn't survive opposing the regime of Qatar, not because they can't, but they are dealing with with a bunch of criminals that they don't respect human rights. People who have a lot of arms from Islamists like Muslim Brotherhood. I have a fatwa on me from Al-Qaradawi since 2014, and that was a very bad move from the Qatari government, that they're using the religion to even chase their own citizens. So that journey didn't stop me because I know how they think. I know their strength power. I understand very, very good how to actually oppose this regime and change them if necessary. And they know that because their secrets was in a very small cycle. And I was one of those people who had the opportunity to know a lot more than anyone else in the world, including the people of Qatar. You know, a lot of people think that the opposition opposing the Qatari regime could lead to a lot of issues. Yes, I understand that. If you go back to what I was doing in my activities, a lot of even foreign media firms that been sponsored by the Qatari regime, they was attacking me. I created the largest Qatari opposition conference in the world in 2017. I've done a lot of campaigns against the government of Qatar, and it was very successful. Had a lot of defamatory campaigns from the state of Qatar in media in France, UK, including Al Jazeera channel, which always been accusing me of being a pro-Israel face. That was 2017 when they publicly actually accused me of that because I invited one Israeli general to my conference, and I wanted to understand a lot of things about what's happened in 1996 when they invited Shimon Peres in Qatar, and huge context that a lot of people in Qatar and the world was not aware of, and they were not happy about that. So this sort of things for me, it's actually educated me how to have more strength than fear in opposing this regime. Reform starting with explaining to people and explaining to the government that what they are doing is wrong. If they are not listening, then we have to move to plan B. Plan B is shifting from reform to changing regime in the way that protect and support my own people.
How did you ultimately escape from Qatar? What's the story behind that?
So in that time, I was in the national security prison in Qatar. And as much the government of Qatar has influence and power within the country, I had it as well. So I find my way out of the country illegally. Until today, if you go check my name in the system of Qatar, it will be mentioned that I am in Doha. I actually didn't leave the country. I'm not saying this because I want to challenge the system only, but to show the system that we have more influence than they think, and we have more strong and power, and every single country have as well its own weakness, and we know the keys and weakness. We didn't do a lot of things, not because we can't, it's because we put our people first. And that's the difference between us and the regime of Qatar. The regime of Qatar, unfortunately, become a puppet of Iran. They become a puppet of a lot of Islamist radical movements like Hamas, like the Muslim Brotherhood, like all these terrorist regimes, which been actually using Qatar money and Qatar platforms to promote their own radical ideology. And you've seen very clearly what happened on 7th of October when basically Al Jazeera was playing their own narrative where it was very clear it was a crime against humanity, and the way they were producing it, that they were actually fighting IDF soldiers. Come on, you've seen that. We've seen young people has nothing to do with military. They have nothing to do with anything, but they just want to explain to people in the GCC countries that whatever Hamas done is by the name of God and it can be accepted, and all of that is not accepted. And a lot of people are aware of that, and a lot of Qataris as well aware of that. But unfortunately, a lot of people cannot speak out because it's a crime to speak against what's so-called the Palestinian cause.
You spoke about the connection between Qatar and Iran. Could you go into a little bit more detail?
Qatar and Iran history in Doha. A lot of people remember what happened when the revolution started in Iran, and how was the Iranian people in Doha, and how was the IRS soldiers walking around in Qatar and forcing Iranian people to go on the street. They created a lot of fear within our people in Qatar in that time because we was very small community, and all of the sudden a lot of Iranian workers in the streets forced to go there. There was actually threatening them for their own family safety and all of that. And then it's developed until the Qatar and Iran sharing the largest gas well in the world. And that actually helped them a lot to put a lot of influence within the Iranian regime because of the sanctions. Iran cannot actually sell a lot of their gas, but they are actually selling it through Qatar. And Qatar found its own way to launder the money for the Iranian regime and to close eye by the Iranian regime and doing a lot of things. Even Qatar gave up OPEC because of Iran, because of increasing the production of gas. and to please the Iranian regime.
Okay. What did it feel like being exiled from your country, and what has this fight cost you personally?
I'm the one who exiled myself. Thus, this government has no say on any Qatari person. They cannot exile me because I'm an original Qatari and this is my own country. And I would have sat there and fought, and I don't care. And I have my own people, and I could have done what they do into other countries, like creating fronts like Hamas and others. But I thought I could have done it in a diplomatic way and do it in a reformist way. So now it's make me think again and again and again, did I do wrong by leaving the country? And I do think now, yes and no. Yes, because the Qatari government, they don't understand the language of reform. They understand the language that other people in Qatar, they forced them before how to accept an alliance and how they accepted the opposition in that time. Tamim's mother, Sheikha Moses, her father was the leader of Qatari opposition. And he is from our tribe. And for them to make peace and to build up the new Qatar, they had to be friends, and they married from those two tribes. But now the things are changing because the Qatari government started to be a family-run business, and they even ignored all that people, including the royal family of Qatar, which is the Al Thanis.
So, how would you explain Qatar's political system to somebody who still thinks it's like a modern monarchy? What would surprise people most about how the power actually works in Qatar?
Qatar is an absolute monarchy system run by one man. Example, Tamim can wake up tomorrow morning and he can say, I want to give Hamas $100 million. Nobody can question Tamim. There is no constitution to question him. He can sign the check. He can just decide whatever he wants to decide. What we are looking for, a constitutional monarchy system where all founder families of Qatar being part of that. And that's exactly how we will be questioning the Qatari government, where they are spending our money. Now we don't know anything, where they're spending our money, how our money is going to Al-Nusra Front, how our money going to Hamas, how our money going to IRS, how our money going to buy influence in the region. We are not aware of that. We want to be aware of that. That's why I've been calling recently, and I'm preparing some approach in the international community for sanctioning the Qatari regime, for actually controlling the money narrative until they put a system on place that everyone in the country understand and knows exactly where the money goes, because now they are dangerous. They are more dangerous than Maduro. They are more dangerous than Iran. They are more dangerous than a lot of regimes. And a lot of people in the West, they are closing their eye because the Qatari government renting their own silence for a period of time. And that should be exposed, and we should actually work toward that. The international community should help us sanctioning the Qatari government wealth and put some system in place to control it. Why they've done that in Libya. Libya in that time, Gaddafi time, was less dangerous than the state of Qatar. Qatar is actually giving money to people who actually kills. And that's a bigger issue for the region. Look, without Qatar money, Hamas wouldn't be able to build tunnels. They wouldn't be able to arm. They wouldn't be able to do a lot of things. The same things happen in a lot of militias in the region. The Houthis, the Hezbollah, all that criminals in the region. Look now what happened in Syria. All of the sudden, the leader of Al-Nusra Front became a modern man, and he's leading Syria. And actually, Qatar putting a lot of money for the world and the West to accept him. They say, oh, he was ISIS now. He's a nice man. So we have to deal with him. No, we don't have to deal with terrorists. We don't have to negotiate with terrorists. We don't want to deal with terrorists. And that's what exactly a lot of governments actually realize. But they cannot oppose the Qatari government because Qatar have a strong propaganda media machine, and they're spending a lot of money more than the others.
What do ordinary Qataris think about the government, but they cannot say publicly? How
So
much support do they have?
look, the Qatari regime always trying to show the West and the world that they are very stable regime. If you are a stable regime, why your own gods are not Qataris? Why you are bringing people from outside Qatar, giving them Qatari local family names, and you put them in your own army? That is a joke. Our people in Qatar, they always questioning why they are so much afraid of us. They know if the people had the opportunity, this regime is gone. You saw what happened recently when strikes from original Qataris was in the streets. Qatar put a lot of people in prison. They criminalized a lot of people. They keep putting a lot of laws every week and every month to criminalize freedom of speech, to criminalize a lot of things that will gonna lead to an end of this regime, but they don't know what's coming their way. I'm saying always that you could buy the silence for Trump for a period of time, but this will actually turn against you in the longer run because you never stop. Open Al Jazeera channel now and watch their own language. They still sponsoring terrorism, supporting terrorism, and praising Hamas, praising all the Muslim Brotherhood fronts. Nothing has changed. So how we could call a regime like the Qatari regime as a friend?
And Qatar has always been hosting the Hamas leaders. As we know, obviously they're terrorists. Why is it that the West allows them to do that?
They pretend to the West that they are a mediator and the existence of Hamas in Qatar because they want to mediate with them. But everyone saw what happened when Qatar refused to mediate. All of a sudden, all Hamas leaders gone quiet, and he demanded, Tamim, that Netanyahu say sorry. Okay, you want sorry? Oh, sorry. What else you want? So that's exactly what happened. That's how they think. They are childs and they control Hamas. People need to understand that the Qatari government, they're actually controlling Hamas. If they say to Hamas now, disarm, Hamas will disarm. But Qatar, they want the existence of Hamas and those terrorist organizations in the West and in the world because they want a role. They want always to be a mediator. Without terrorism, Qatar will not exist, and the Qatar regime will have no say in the world. Tell me, if there is no Hamas in Qatar and no Taliban and no Al Qaeda and no all this terrorist organization, what would you say to the? Would you ever mention Qatar? I doubt it. You will never mention the name Qatar. At least Qatar has something to be mentioned of, and that they found their own way through Hamas and through Taliban, Al Qaeda, and all those terrorist Islamist organizations.
It seems that Qatar was very shaken up when Israel struck them. What do you think was really going on in their minds when that happened?
First of all, Qatar thought that the influence and whatever they pay in the US will gonna make them survive. And they were shocked when Israel actually hit them in Doha without any resistance and any support from America. They was in a shock. They said, okay, we've been left alone. But at the same time, it was a lesson for them. And my people in Qatar, they was actually in fear. They believed that this could be the end of the Qatari government existence. But what I say to people, even though I condemn as a Qatari any attack to Qatar, including Israeli attack or Iranian attack, the same thing all my people is. But who actually caused it is the Qatari government. They are the ones who caused that issues. So for Qatari people to live in peace, the Qatari regime has to go. And that's what we have to explain to my people, and that's what we are working on.
Many people see Al Jazeera as independent journalism. What role does it actually play?
Al Jazeera is a propaganda machine and run by a lot of Muslim Brotherhood ideologists. You see that very clearly how they are, what is the media narrative they are actually controlling. And Al Jazeera, I don't call it as a media front. Al Jazeera is actually an intelligence front for the government of Qatar. We've seen that very clearly now when they was hosting Osama bin Laden in Doha, and what was and how they are describing criminals and terrorists and how they trying to defamate the character of the West. Like now I was shocked. I was reading some reports from Al Jazeera today. They basically undermining Trump, and they are Trump considered them as an ally, and they are actually working against Trump, and they want Trump to fall. I'm not sure if they translate to Trump whatever Al Jazeera Arabic is doing, but I think he should learn and understand that they are campaigning against him, against the existence of Trump and his own government.
A lot of people don't understand the difference between Al Jazeera in Arabic versus Al Jazeera in English. It seems like two different channels. What do you have to say about that?
It's not two different channels. They have their own language to the West, and they have their own language to the Arabic people. With the Arabic people, they are actually encouraging terrorism and encouraging a lot of radical Islamic ideologies. With the West, they're trying to show modern. Israel did that. Israel did that in a softer way. So for people to understand and accept it. Go and put them both combined, you will find there is a bigger narrative, and they are actually working together, and it's the same fronts, the same thing like Al Jazeera have. Not only Al Jazeera have a lot of fronts, other small channels like Al Arabi Al Jadid and all of that other fronts that they've been sponsoring and supporting, even NGOs and a lot of organizations to give legitimacy of whatever they believe in, to spread messages different ways. And that's actually that's why a lot of stupid journalists from Israel, they're failing out actually for the Qatari traps, and they are actually pushing Qatari narrative within Israeli media as a good mediator and all of that. And we've seen recently what happened to one senior editor who he been accused of actually supporting the Qatari regime messages in Israel. A lot of people, I know a lot of people in Israel, and every single person I spoke to, they don't like the Qatari regime, and they actually believe Qatari regime is behind the killing of their own beloved ones in 7 October.
Speak about how powerful the media is in shaping the minds of the West when it comes to the conflicts in the Middle East. How powerful is the media?
Qatari media.
Yeah.
Well, for example, I've been in Khalid Al-Hel Institute. We've done a report. Suggest you read it. It's called Qatar Narrative Watch. So basically, the way they work, one statement from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Qatar. Qatar is a good mediator. This will gonna be reshaped in 600 stories in different big main streams, and within that, they do campaigns as well to defamate the Israeli regime and to do a lot of Western values within those regimes. And a lot of lefties, they fall actually in this trap by the Qatari government, and they started to repeat whatever the Qatari government saying and mentioning, and that was a big issue.
So this is why Qatar invests so heavily in media and narratives, because of what you're saying.
Yes, and they believe that it's working, and it's actually working for them. Look, unfortunately, the Qatari media is really powerful and strong. Look where they've reached, even to Newsmax, which is owned by Trump himself. They invested $50 million just recently. And they are trying to basically change the narrative to be a pro-Qatar. And that's actually a big issue that the West will going to face very soon. That's why I say Qatari government should be sanctioned and the money should be controlled.
Qatar has also invested billions in the universities and institutions in the West. What do you have to say about that?
Because they understand the influence of the professors over their own students, and they know if they spend money on those professors, a lot of pro-Palestine and pro-Qatar messages will gonna be pushed. And you've seen it very clearly how they was organizing a protest, pro-Palestine protest, and a lot of activities, round tables and all of that being pushed by the Qatari government. And the students, they want to please their own professors. And unfortunately, I've seen as well some young Jewish people who've been manipulated by the own professors and the Qatari narrative, even if they didn't know that, but they should be aware of that. And it's actually a big issue. And it's basically what I do believe now, whatever Qatar is doing as an anti-Semitism activities in the West will actually lead to hate. And it's a big issue. The world should really focus on that. They created Project Islamophobia. They created those type of scams, which I do believe that this one is just to get funding from the Western governments. You see it in Canada, $50 million gone to Muslim Brotherhood fronts. In America, the same. I'm shocked every day news stories coming up. And that's one day will gonna be a big issue, because if you are friends of Israel and the existence of Israel, for example, you have to actually stop hate against Jews and the world. And what's happening recently and how Qatar is actually pushing that narrative is basically something that we should be aware of and we should fight and we should actually explain to the world that they are promoting hate. And that's the main thing that we should focus on.
What impact do you think this has had on the public opinion, especially with the younger generation, which, when you poll them, the majority stand with Hamas, which is shocking. Do you think this is majority of it's coming because of Qatar's influence, or is it just part of other
Qatar
things?
Qatar invested a lot of money in Gen Z fronts, and you've seen in social media a lot of media outlets in TikTok and Instagram and a lot of other social media platform is basically what they do. They are giving them entertainment content, and within that entertainment content, they push a small story of Gaza, a small story of what's happening there, or a small story that people are in hunger. People, okay, from the first time, they might not understand, but if you keep seeing those certain things with small messagings, the focus, oh, Israeli killing Gaza people, they don't know the context. They don't know what Hamas and how Hamas actually is causing that problems. They don't understand how what Hamas did in 7th of October. And that's a big failure, يعني, in the West recently, because they've given the opportunity to a lot of radical content to be promoted online.
Now, you have some big journalists like Tucker Carlson, who, back in the day, he was not speaking this way. He was speaking completely opposite. Now he's very, very anti Israel. Do you think there are many out there that are bought off by Qatar?
Someone like Tucker Carlson, who actually shifted radically against whatever he believed and against his own principles, because his own principles, American first. When he go to Qatar, he basically was walking and driving by Osama bin Laden's son, the man who slaughtered 3,000 Americans. And basically he wouldn't mind that because he had a financial interest. So Qatar buying or renting their own influence for a short period of time. But people like Tucker Carlson and those who fall in this trap, I'm definitely sure that very soon we will find out a lot of things and a lot of documentation how they got their own money, because what they don't know that we know we have access in Doha and we know how the money is moving around, and basically we were gonna question them and sue them because it's our own money.
Can you give some other examples of how Qatar buys influence in the West, besides for the media and the schooling and the universities?
For example, Qatar as well buying a lot of young student people independently through, for example, like what happened in University of Cordoba in Spain, where they say Tamim bin Hamad chair. So what they basically do, they try to focus on certain young people that might be in a stronger positions later, and they sponsor their studies and they give them money and support them. They go to social media influencers. They basically give them some money as well. Say, okay, just say nice story about Qatar, promote Qatar, do this, do that. And at the same time as well, the Qatari government defamating character of their own rivals by hacking. So they basically using hackers to blackmail people as well. We've seen that very clearly in the past few years. New York Times exposed them, Elliot Brody case, a lot of cases. Myself as well was a victim of hacking, even other ambassadors, a lot of people. And this is basically, even the blackmailing is a part of Qatar influence.
So you've said publicly that you support normal relations with Israel. Why do you believe that is important?
Because the existence of Israel as a strong state in the region, it's in our own region stability preference for a lot of people in the region. Because Israel, basically, they've proven to be a strong country. and a country with the technology and added value to the region. We've seen the other example, which is just war after war after war after war. Even in Gaza, 2007, 2006, Hamas fighting Fatah, they kill each other. And even when Israel gave up the country to them and said, okay, you rule it, they left there. They start building tunnel, fighting Israel, and they've been doing a lot of things. So basically, what we want to have a normal relationship with Israel, with the Jews. We like the example that's happened in UAE, and you can see now how UAE are advanced in a lot of technologies, in AI technology and other technology, and we want to be part of that. Why we have to choose to be enemies where we can be good friends and live in peace?
What does Qatar have to gain by supporting Hamas? What are they gaining from this
Just influence.
relationship?
Just influence. Qatar need Hamas because they want existence. What Qatar want
Yeah.
from Hamas, they want always to be important. They want to be part of negotiations. They want to be mentioned. Without Hamas existence, nobody will talk to Qatar. And that's their problem.
Do you believe many people in the region privately support peace but cannot say so publicly? Peace with
100%.
Israel?
Yes, 100%. You've seen 1996 visit of Shimon Peres in Qatar. It was welcomed by the Qatari people. There was no issues. There was no problems. But because the government of Qatar chose to do the opposite after, the people just choose to follow the government. Look on the UAE now. It's been accepted widely, and it's a very nice relationship between Israel and UAE. Look at Morocco. Look at the countries who signed the Abraham Accord. There is no issues there.
What do you think about Saudi Arabia? They were supposed to normalize relations with Israel with the Abraham Accords. Now it seems like they've moved away from it. What are your thoughts on that?
Saudi Arabia now is being influenced by the Qatari government agenda because they found their own ways to Saudi. They've been explaining to the Saudi Arabia that they could lead the region with that messages. But I know for a fact Saudi Arabia will actually sign the Abraham Accord eventually. And I know that for a fact because it might be postponed for a period of time, but it will happen eventually, especially with Saudi.
But don't they say that they want a Palestinian state as a condition
They
for
have
this? Or
they have the Palestinian state. They've been campaigning and making parties in the world, and they sign it, and they have a state. Okay, here's your state. What they want? What else they want? They had it. They created their own state. No, they recognized it. So what's the problem? I mean, look, the way they've done it, it's been UK and all of the world big campaign by Qatar and Saudi Arabia. Palestinians said, you have it. Go. Now unite them and give them a government. They don't want. They fight each other. They don't want to have their own country. That's the problem.
yeah. And also when they chant from the river to the sea, I think they just want to take over the whole country. They don't want part of it.
That statement, it's very childish. And that statement is a narrative that actually a lot of people in Al Jazeera pushing. But they know it's not factual. It cannot happen. It will not happen. It's impossible even to think of. It's a provoking statement that will lead to nothing. So if you want to sing that song, keep singing it in the street. Israel will thrive and survive and be stronger, and you have nothing. So accept whatever you have and just be reasonable, and everything will be fine.
You know, October 7th, Hamas attacked Israel. What exactly was their goal? Obviously, they were not going to take over the country. They knew that by taking hostages, Israel will come in and very strong. What was their goal?
They understand that Israeli people has value to their own government, and they know that. So kidnapping Israeli people, they know they got a treasury for them to bargain and negotiate. So that's how militant and terrorist organizations think. Israel didn't open any door for Gaza until they returned the last dead person was there. And basically, it shows a lot of respect to the government of Israel. So people really respect them for that. Where Hamas leaders, they are rats. They've been hiding under tunnels and keeping their own people dying up. for their own crimes. And what did they gain after all of that? They have to give their own weapons and they have to surrender, and they gave back all the hostages, and a lot of people died for nothing. So they have to understand and realize that they are not welcome in the region anymore. Hamas should not exist. And that's what I've been saying for a very long time. Since 2014, 13, I've been saying this publicly. I've said many times, Hamas one day will do a stupid thing that will gonna cause big pain to everyone in the region. And it's happened, which is 7th of October.
Can you distinguish between the Muslim Brotherhood style of Islam, the radical Islam, versus the moderate Islam? What do people not understand about this?
People need to understand that there is a lot of people in the world who's very modern and very modern Islamic people who actually just believe in peace, who don't want headache. I mean, even a lot of Muslims understand that in Quran, a lot of our own stories is from Banu Israel stories. A lot of the stories is actually Jewish stories. For them, they give examples to whatever the Jews believes. So, I mean, shifting that and closing a lot of that to create a hate front against the religion and a strong country. Actually, you cannot even defeat it for now. So why you or even you go there and you go in first stance? Why you go in that choosing that front to actually fight like the Iranian regime? They've been fighting for a very long time. الموت لأمريكا, الموت إسرائيل, death to America, death to Israel. With the first Israeli strike, most of the leaders in Iran gone in one day. I mean, they need to be more smart. And whatever they've had, they didn't even damage Israel when they hit their missiles. I mean, it was just a joke. People didn't even take them seriously. They exposed themselves to the West. And now I bet with you, if Israel were going to hit again, they're finished. They are gone. They don't have any existence. And the same language they understand, like Hamas and others. Hezbollah, Hamas, Iran, Houthis, all of that radical fronts, they understand only the language of.
Do you think it's a mistake that Trump has waited so long to strike Iran? Or is there even anything that he could do? What are your thoughts on?
I think it's a smart in a sense that you have to find the big hit. I know what they think of. They want the big fish. Once you hit the big fish, you finish it. So they are waiting for the big fish. If not, he have to keep hiding in his own caves.
Do you think that once this regime is gone, that they can find something better to replace it with?
Yes, of course. Iranian people are very modern, very nice people, the majority of them. There is a very radical percentage of them which is pro the regime, and once it's gone, Iran will gonna become a normal country again.
And before 1979, they had normal relations with Israel. This regime has really destroyed the country. Why do they take the money that's meant for their citizens and just fund terror while their people are starving? What kind of a calculation is that for a government?
Before the Khomeini regime, Iran used to make $200 million a day. And that was a big number in that time. And now Iran has no money. The people are struggling. And whatever they have instead of buildings, it's all been built by the Shah and the previous regime. Whatever they have now is they are actually living in 1979. So Iran deserves to be looked after and supported. The same thing happened with Somaliland. The people need to thrive again. They need to. They are fed up from the ignorance of the Qatari of the Arab countries. So when Israel went to them there, they don't have to blame Israel anymore. They have to blame themselves. And the same thing will again happen to the Iranian regime as well.
Why do you think it is that the Muslim Brotherhood is banned in some Arab countries, but yet they flourish in the West? And is there anything that can be done with the Muslim Brotherhood in the West?
Yes, they have to ban the Muslim Brotherhood. America, they've done a few good steps, but it's not enough. I believe they should include all Muslim Brotherhoods as terrorist organizations. Countries like Egypt done it well. Countries like Saudi Arabia, actually, they already put them as a terrorist organization. UAE, you have as well some. UK is weak. I don't think UK is willing to have a fight against the Muslim Brotherhood now, but they have to because they're mandatory, because we've seen what happened 2015 when they start to threaten the government of UK. If you criminalize us or put us as a terrorist organization, a lot of attack might happen in UK, and those sort of wordings and messaging, which was not accepted.
Do you think that the Middle East is now a safer place than it was before October 7th or not? Like after what Israel has done to Hamas, to Hezbollah, attacking Iran, and all the different things that they
Yes,
did?
and 90% of Arabs, they supported the Israeli attacks on Hezbollah. 80%. I'm not even exaggerating. With the Gaza story is a little bit, I would not lie to you, 50-50, 30-70, but there is a lot of people against Hamas, and they are actually against the existence of Hamas as well. And I believe that Iranian regime should go, and Hezbollah should go, and Houthis should go, and then the stabilities will gonna come back to the region. And actually, the first thing, the Qatari government existence, they should leave.
What do you think that Israel should do with Gaza? I mean, you have the Trump plan or whatever, but you think it's possible to get rid of Hamas and get rid of their weapons and all that?
Hamas is buying time. Hamas is buying time. You start to do war, you have to finish the war, because Hamas is not willing to compromise. And you will gonna mark my word, they were gonna sign, they were gonna do whatever America want, but they will not give up on the ground. They should leave.
Yeah, they should. Right.
Yeah.
Do you believe that change in Qatar is inevitable? Like, what would Qatar look like in 10 years from now if your vision became a reality?
Qatar will be the Monaco of the Middle East. It will be a very nice country. It will be a prestigious country. Nobody will hear about our problems or our issues. We are a very wealthy nation and very classy people. We have nothing to do with Hamas. We don't want Hamas. We don't want Taliban. We don't want all those terrorist organizations to be exist in Qatar. We'll be focusing on ourselves and our own people. Qatar for Qataris. Now our money all going to Gaza and terrorist organization, which is not accepted. Since we born, we've been donating $1, $1 each to Palestine, and we don't know where is that money gone. And all what we see is leaders of Hamas living in hotels, their kids having a lavish lifestyle. The country is still the same, and the people still in poorness. So I don't understand what's going on, and where is our money gone?
That seems to be a common theme with these leaders, Arafat and all the Hamas leaders. These are all billionaires, and Gaddafi, Hussein. I mean, you can keep going. All these tyrants are living in luxury while they're. Isn't this a common theme?
It is a common theme, especially with countries like Qatar, because Qatar, basically, whatever they give their own people is not enough, because our people deserve more, and their wealth is more beyond than anyone can imagine. So if they give the Qatari people their own rights, Qataris will be the richest people in the world.
After everything that you've been through, what keeps you going personally?
The motivation to basically change the regime of Qatar.
Do you have hope for the future of the Middle East, for Qatar?
Yes, I do have hope, and I do believe that it will going to happen very soon. My message to the world should consider sanctioning the Qatari government, and we should put a standard operating procedure in place to control the money of Qatar, to protect the wealth of our people, as the current regime of Qatar, they are not working on the side of our own people. They are there just to spend our money on silly things that's not accepted by the Qatari people.
Khalid, I want to thank you for your time, for your bravery, for your courage, for your moral clarity. Wish you a lot of success. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
If you have a 401k or an IRA, please listen. Gold is at record highs. What many people don't know is this: You can move part of your retirement money legally and without tax penalties into physical gold you actually own. Alpha Omega Gold helps you do this through a gold IRA. Your gold is real. It is stored safely. It is in your name. Learn more at ao.gold/stand. Alpha Omega Gold is our sponsor, and they proudly stand with Israel.